please join me in welcoming Jeff Masagatani. You're going to have to stay a lot longer for me to learn your name.
Aloha kakahiaka. Aloha. I feel so blessed. I'm in Salt Lake and I get Hawaiian music. I mean, this is perfect. I'm good. All right. I want to say thank you for inviting me to spend time with you this morning here in Salt Lake at the Salt Lake Center for Spiritual Living. It is my great honor and pleasure to be with you this morning and to be taking a big leap myself. When Reverend Marty is my mentor going through school. And so back in December or January, he's like, have you done any talks? I'm like, yeah, at Center for Spiritual Living, Greater Las Vegas. I'm like, can you send me a copy of one? And I'm like, well, you can go online and you can see some of the Wednesday nights that I've done. He's like, okay. And the next day I get a phone call from him. He's like, so I'm inviting you to Salt Lake and I'd like for you to speak in March on Sunday morning. And so here I am. So thank you. And it's a great honor to be able to do Sunday morning with you. And for him to share this space and this time and his beloved community with me. I'm so honored and so blessed. So thank you very, very much. I do want to tell you that a couple years ago in Las Vegas, we had come back from Bodhi. We were there, Bodhi Spiritual Center in Chicago. It's where the meta model's kind of getting off the ground just about everywhere in the New Thought movement. So we were there, and they had done the Big Leap a year earlier or so, and we looked at it and go, that looks interesting. Maybe we should do the Big Leap. And so we came back, and to start our meta group, what we're calling care culture, got to get all the language right for the different centers, but the care culture at our center, we decided that we were going to start it off using the Big Leap. And so having the background in curriculum development as a teacher, and then being a flight attendant and a massage therapist, it fell to me to write the curriculum for that. And so what I did is I created the home study group packets that I believe you'll be using for your home study coming up starting in April. And I'm so excited to be able to share that with you as well. So yay, okay, I'm going to brag, it's really good. It'll take it much deeper, much, much deeper. But so the book is called The Big Leap. And it's out on the book table outside there. So I encourage you to pick it up, read it for yourselves. If you decide to join one of the groups, even better, take it deeper. So in the book, he talks about the 4 zones, that we basically operate in 4 zones. All of our activities in life operate in 4 zones. Our zone of incompetence, which is our zones when we really shouldn't be doing that thing. You know, it's the incompetence, like, if my car breaks down, I lift the hood and I go, Dad? Or AAA? Or Dad and AAA? So that would be a zone of incompetence. The one time a zone of incompetence can actually be your friend is if you're learning to do something you really want to learn to do that, you want to practice it and you don't have the skill set yet, like skiing. Well, maybe not in this room, but me skiing Hawaii, no. So that would be something that it's okay to be in your zone of incompetence because you're learning a skill set. You want to grow, you want to expand. So that's okay to be in your zone of incompetence there. So, zone of competence, the second one, is those things that you can do them well enough, but it's not your passion. It's not, it's like, all right, I can iron these pair of pants, or I can vacuum, or whatever it is, but everybody else can do it, or a lot of other people can do it, and a lot of other people can even do it better than you, so let them do it. So that's the zone of competence. Yes. Here you go, let them do it. Then we have the zone of excellence. And the zone of excellence is a very seductive zone because when you're in your zone of excellence, you're using a lot of your skills, you're using a lot of your talents, you're getting praised, you're getting accolades, and life is going pretty well and you're flowing pretty well. That's your zone of excellence. Then there's the zone of genius. In your zone of excellence, sometimes we feel that nagging, like, is this it? Is this all there is to life? Is that what am I going to do? It's like, okay, well, I'm happy, I'm making money, and I'm living my life, but there's something more. There's something more that's calling to us, and that something more is your genius. That's your divine discontent. What we often hear in New Thought is divine discontent. And that's where we're living our lives, but there's something more. We know there's something more out there. We know there's something more for us. And so how he defines zone of genius is that the zone of genius is when you are using your unique abilities, your unique capabilities, your unique qualities, your unique skills. And you're using all of these in service to yourself and in service to others. Just like Reverend Marty was talking about last week, you can't hide your light underneath a bushel. It has to shine. You have to let your light shine. So when you step into your zone of genius, you don't get to play small anymore. You have to play big. And playing big can be scary, but there's ways to play big and have it not be as scary. I'm not going to tell you it's not scary. As scary. Okay? Because, well... So the workshop this afternoon, just briefly, we're going to be looking at the 4 zones. We're going to be looking at the 3 zones, and then we're going to be looking at the zone of genius. The zone of genius is when you step out of those little boxes that we've put ourselves in, we step onto the spiral of life, and we do a beautiful upward spiral that's never ending. And we continue to expand and grow and share. So that's what we're going to be talking about this afternoon. So we're going to be looking at some of where we're kind of stuck, and then what it is that's calling us to move forward, what our genius is to move forward. So I wanted to mention that. That's going to be the nuts and bolts of this afternoon. But here I want to talk to you more about the zone of genius itself. Genius itself comes from the Latin via the Greek, and the original meaning of the word genius is a guardian deity or spirit which watches over each person from birth. A guardian deity or spirit that watches over each person from birth. It's also spirit, an incarnation, wit, or talent. Sounds really familiar, doesn't it, to what we think about in Science of Mind? That I am the divine emanation and impartation of spirit. I am the incarnation of spirit. It dwells within me. It lives right here, right now, present in me. So what am I? I'm a genius, right? And guess what? So are you, right? You're a genius too. Yeah, give yourselves a round of applause. You're a genius. Turn to your neighbor and tell them, you're a genius. Turn to your other neighbor and say, I'm a genius. And now together, we're genius. Good deal. Woo! All right. So genius comes from the Latin geniere, which means to beget or to produce. Similar root word for Genesis. All right? Genesis is genesthai, to be born. Genesthai, to be born. So we have your genius, your God self. Begets, another word for produces, another word for creates, your Genesis, right? Your beginning, that which you are creating. So, as we know in Science of Mind, as we know in this faith and philosophy, that when we are in alignment with the who of who we are, then all things flow from that. When our inner is in alignment, our outer matches our inner. And our outer always matches our inner, whether we're in alignment or not. Right? Sometimes, right? Not always. So really what your zone of genius is it's your God zone. It's that place in you that lives and knows and breathes and is in complete and total alignment always with Spirit, always with your divine. That's what the zone of genius is. Everyone has a zone of genius. Everyone, we already established we're all geniuses here, so there you go, right? But not everyone hears the call to genius. Everybody has a calling. Everybody has a divine purpose. Otherwise, we're not walking here. Right? But not everybody hears it, or not everybody's willing to hear it. Right? So, I love the affirmation for this month. The affirmation being, today I deepen my relationship with the divine. Absolutely. And that doesn't just mean today, and it doesn't mean tomorrow, and it doesn't mean that, at the end of the month, March 31st on Easter, you no longer get to deepen your relationship with the divine. Darn, I know, no. It's an ongoing process. And it's an ongoing relationship that we build within by turning within and listening. So a few things that we can do to deepen our relationship with the divine every day, and we can use our markers throughout the day to do this. First thing we do when we get up in the morning, thank you. Another day to be, another day to walk the planet, another day to live my life full on, full out. Then as we're going through the morning, stand in the mirror and say, wow, you're amazing. Wow, you're a genius. Right? Loving it. As we eat meals throughout the day, I am so grateful for the bounty and the abundance that I have showing up in my life. I know that God is my source and supply. I know that there is only one here. As we're driving on the road, we can sit there and go, God is the mind of everybody on the road, because God is my mind. There's only one mind, so God is the mind of every driver on the road. That one's a little more challenging some days. So yesterday, as I was driving the Sinners to Saints highway, and tomorrow, I will be driving the Saints to Sinners highway. I had plenty of time to, God is the one mind, there's only one mind, and it's the mind of every driver on the road. So my genius and I got to have a fun time as we were riding up, listening to 80s on 8 on Sirius XM, and, having a good old time chatting and seeing all these new names going by, Nephi. I'm like, okay, Nephi to a grasshopper, okay, So we had a good time. I was able to commune and sit there and commune in that time frame. So that's kind of practicing the presence, and it's courting the divine. It's courting that presence within and making friends with it and just loving it and being able to hear it and being able to have that conversation. Sometimes they're difficult conversations, but being able to hear those conversations, the voices in your head. So the other way that I've really done a lot of, the other way I hear, because Linda mentioned that I've always kind of followed my heart. So it's true. When I went from being a teacher to a flight attendant, it was like, okay, this is the next step. This is what I want to do. This is what's coming through. All right, well, let's do that. And so I followed my heart. And then the next one, when I left flying, to become a massage therapist, it was like, okay, this is the next thing. All right, this is what I want to do. Okay. And I followed it. And I didn't know what it was I was listening to. I just thought it was intuition. I just thought it was, it's something. I didn't know what it was listening to. Now I know. Now I know I was listening to that divine guidance. Now I know I was listening to that genius. And I know that all those random life experiences have brought me to right here where I am right now. And I'm in awe of that. So in the past few years, I've been cultivating my ability to really listen, to really pay attention, rather than just kind of oh, here's this, and yeah, it's worked out before, so okay, and here's this, it's worked out before, to actually sit down and cultivate it, and to cultivate that relationship and actually listen and actually be able to hear what's going on. And I love the quote that Reverend Marty shared with you last week, was, don't listen to what I'm saying, listen to what I'm listening to, by Ernest Holmes. I was like, wow, that's it, right there. Listen to what I'm listening to. And so what I've learned and what I've begun to practice over the past few years is contemplative meditation and visioning and spiritual mind treatment. Visioning is a wonderful way to open ourselves up and listen to what Spirit has in store for us or has to share with us. So is contemplative meditation. Contemplative meditation, as the way I practice it and the way it was taught to me, we take a phrase and we take it into the silence and we look at it and we use that phrase to then quiet our mind to then be able to hear. So a phrase, the one that's coming right now is, God's grace is my sufficiency. God's grace is my sufficiency in all things. So by taking that into a contemplative meditation, it's like, what does that mean? It means that I know that I am provided and cared for, that I am never forsaken, that all that I have is yours. And I can take it deeper and deeper and deeper, and deeper into the silence, until I get to that really quiet place, and then I say, speak, thy servant heareth. And I listen. And I wait. And sometimes it's just silence. And it's that serenity that we sang about in the song. That stillness. But it's in that stillness that there is the fullness and the allness and the isness of communing and going beyond communing into a conscious union with the one. And it's there that I often hear something come through. For me, it's a voice. Sometimes it's just a feeling, but often it's a voice. So a couple of months ago, when I really took the big leap, and for school, I left my job. I let it go. I released it. I was no longer able to remain congruent in my spiritual teaching, my spiritual practice, and stay at the place of my employment. So I walked away. Scary. And yet, I knew that I was cared for. I knew that I was provided for. And I have been and continue to be. I applied for a position at a local hospice to become a hospice chaplain. And 2 weeks after applying, I woke up one morning and I heard, I've got something greater for you. And I was like, okay. And then I knew that I was never going to hear from this hospice. And I didn't. It was just fine. So in January, Myrna and I are down there in San Diego at Holmes Institute with John Waterhouse, and he's leading a class, and I'm sitting there, and all of a sudden I get the download. I'm like, really? Right now? No. I was like, and I got more of a download, and I was like, no. I'm like, you mean you want me to stay in Vegas longer? And I love Vegas, don't get me wrong, but, like she said, it's kind of my desert experience, so I get to do a lot of work. And I was like, okay, I've been there 6 years. I'm not going to be there for 40. Not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. So, beautiful download. I'm still sitting with it. We'll see. But what I know is, in that moment, I was like, no. And then I thought, okay, fine. I'll say yes. And so I moved quickly from where years before I would have been high resistance mode. Ignore, I'm not hearing you, I don't see you, no. In that moment, it was maybe a minute and a half, 2 minutes of, nah. And then it became, yes, this is mine to do. And so I know that that's moving forward. I know that that is that which was when I heard Spirit say, I've got something greater for you, it's that. So I'm like, okay, this is a good thing. This is a really good thing. So we'll work on it. It's really easy to just stay in our zone of excellence. It's comfy there. It's so comfy there. So the very first thing we need to do is we need to have a willingness. I cannot believe I'm going to do this. Okay. This is part of the leap because, Matthew 22, 1 through 14. Now, if you knew me, you would know that me talking about a parable from the Bible in front of a group of people in Salt Lake is way beyond anything this little brain ever could have imagined. So at any rate, willingness. So in this parable, Jesus compares the kingdom of heaven to a very rich king who is having a wedding banquet for his son. He invites all these people to come, and all these people say, no, we're not coming. We have other things to do. We need to work. We need to go elsewhere. We need to do other things. We're too busy. We're not going to come. So he goes ahead and he prepares the feast anyway. He goes ahead and he re-invites them all. Say, come on, come to the feast. I've got it all ready for you. Come to the luau, right? I've got it all ready for you. And again, they say no. And this time, instead of just saying no, they kill his servants, they kill his messengers. So then, being, the time frame that it was, he then sends his armies out and destroys their cities. Okay. And then he invites everybody from the roads, from the waysides. He invites the poor, the afflicted, the lame, the maimed, lepers, everybody. This is who he invites, and this is who comes to the feast, comes to the wedding feast. And all are welcome. And as he enters the hall, he sees one gentleman sitting there. He's not wearing the wedding clothes, the proper wedding garments. And he walks up to the person and goes, sir, how did you, or he actually goes, friend, how did you manage to come here without wearing the proper clothes? And the gentleman was speechless. And so the king goes, bind his legs, bind his feet, throw him out into the darkness where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. Okay. And then the very final line of it is, many are called, few are chosen. Okay? Many are called, few are chosen. So that was an assignment that I had for class, Alice Bandy's class, and I was like, what? And then I thought about it, and we got to work with it. So, really quickly, when we say no to Spirit, when we tell Spirit no, when we're unwilling to show up for the party, when we're unwilling to partake of the feast, the abundance that Spirit is providing, when we're unwilling to even show up, we can't enjoy. We don't benefit from all the greatness and the fullness and the largeness of life, right? And when we kill the messenger, when we just really don't want to hear it, we really ignore it, we really squash it down, then that's where our souls begin to wither. Because we're not living in that fullness, that allness, that genius that we are and that's available to us. And so that's the meaning of destroying the cities. Right? Reverend Marty talked about it last week, right? With the Gospel of Thomas. He mentioned that when we allow that which is within us to come forth, we are saved by it. And when we do not allow that which was within us to come forth, we are destroyed by it. So that's the meaning of that part of that story there, right? The willingness, their lack of willingness. And then who shows up? The people who are willing. And they partake of that great feast. They partake of it. It's there, it's available to them. They say yes and they receive. And then there's the guy who's not dressed right, who gets thrown out. So he said yes, he showed up, but he didn't show up in his fullness and his allness. He still had doubt. He wasn't showing up the way he needed to show up to be able to participate. His consciousness was not there. He still felt outside and other. That's why he shows up not dressed appropriately. Actually, all are called. Few choose to hear the call. All are called. We get to choose whether we're going to show up or not. So that's the willingness piece. Then there's the commitment piece, which is symbolized here by the wedding itself. It's a commitment. This living in your zone of genius, living from that genius that is within you, is a commitment. It takes fortitude. It takes great desire, but it takes a commitment. It takes a commitment to live in that zone of genius. And so, once we've committed, and that's what this ring is, it's my commitment to my zone of genius. It's my commitment to living as the divine, in direct relationship with the divine. That's what this ring is. It's the mystical marriage. It's bringing ourselves into alignment and then living from that place, from that greater place of genius. And sometimes the committees in our head want to take us out of that. And sometimes the committees out there in the world want to take us out of that. And that's when we bring in Nehemiah 6:3. I am doing a great work and I cannot come down. Old Testament, woo! Right? I am doing a great work and I cannot come down. Let's do that together. I'm doing a great work. And I cannot come down. One more time together. I'm doing a great work and I cannot come down. Yes. There's also that Chinese proverb that says, those who say it can't be done need to get out of the way of those who are already doing it. Yeah. And then the final piece there, we discern, we listen to Spirit, we're willing, we commit. And then the final piece is faith. And it's not a faith in anything. Faith in God, faith in friends, faith in myself still recognizes the separation. There's something out there that I have faith in. What's required here when we move into our zone of genius, when we live from that place of genius as the genius that we are, is the faith of God. The faith of God is the faith that carries us forth. The faith of God is an absolute knowing beyond any shadow of a doubt. There is not even an inkling of a doubt. It is an absolute knowing. When we say, I know that I know that I know, that's faith. So hope, on the other hand, hope stands at the door and she knocks. Knock, knock, knock. Knock, knock, knock. That's hope. Hope stands at the door and knocks and waits for it to be opened. Faith, on the other hand, faith doesn't stand at the door and knock. Faith approaches the door, turns the knob, flings open the door, walks right in and says, hey, I am here. Right? That's the faith. That's the faith it takes to take that big leap, to move into the genius, to live from that genius all the time. Living in the genius is absolutely amazing. Now when I make decisions, or now when I think, or now when I have questions, I go within first. I'm not trying to solve it out there. I go within. And I ask, okay, what's here? So, genius, what's the word? And I wait. That's the way I approach it now. In this community, you are truly stepping into that zone of genius. Each and every one of you. You've already said yes, whether you know it or not, because you're here. So you've already recognized The genius lies within you. The genius doesn't just lie there. It lives, it breathes, it moves, and has its being in, through, and as each and every one of you. And as this community. So this community is stepping to the edge. I saw the drawing out there of the vision of your own space. Wow, that is so cool. That is so amazing. And each one of you, as each one of you steps more fully into your genius, that lifts not only your own consciousness, but the consciousness of the center, and it lifts the consciousness of the planet as a whole. That's what Joel Goldsmith calls your world work. It's who you've come to be in the world, to let your light shine. So I honor you, I applaud you. Discern, listen, be willing, commit, and have the faith. And you are ready to fly. Absolutely. And that's what I know for this community. That's what I know for each and every one of you here today. And anybody watching online or seeing it in the future. You are amazing. And you are genius. You are genius. Let's join together in consciousness. So right here and right now, I know that there's only one power, one presence, one life, and one love. This one is God. This one is the allness, the fullness, the isness that simply is. It is the genius from which the Genesis is created. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. And from itself, through itself, as itself, it created all of life, both form and formless. There is no other outside of God. There simply is God. The one, the oneness. And as I know that this is the truth, as I know that there is only this one, I know that I am one. All that it is, I am. For it is the I am that I am. God, genius. It lives and breathes and moves and has its being in, through, and as me, as my life, as the divine activity of my life. For I am a drop in the ocean, and I am also the ocean in the drop. I am. And as I know that this is true of me, I know that this is true of everyone present and everyone who ever hears these words. For we are all brothers and sisters in the kingdom of God. We are. And so recognizing this oneness, I speak my word now in the first person. I recognize that the mind of God, the genius that is God, lives, breathes, and moves through me now and forevermore. It never, ever forsakes me. It is always with me. Because it is who I am. And in this knowing, I can step confidently forward into my calling, into my greater yet to be. I can take that leap and fully realize the who of who I have come here to be. For I am a vessel, a clear channel. In my alignment, I am a vessel and clear channel for Spirit to work through me out into the world. This is how I show up. This is my calling, to be the presence of love and light on the planet. This is my divine birthright. And for it, I am so grateful. I am so grateful to be that vessel, to be able to stand at the edge and say, use me. Use me. use me. I am grateful for that still, small voice. It is the voice of my genius, that is the voice of my divine, that guides me on every step of the journey. I listen, and I accept, and I receive. And in this oneness, I simply relax, and I know that I know that I know. And I give thanks. I give thanks in the awe of the gift that's already been given. I give thanks for the life, the power and the presence and the love that is within and expresses without. So I simply release my word into the law, knowing that it is already done, knowing that the demonstration was made and has been made in the conscious union of this moment. It couldn't be more perfect than what it is already right now. I simply let it be, and so it is.